I'm going to show you exactly how we can build a functioning business just using AI. Listen, there are thousands of people making so much money because they know exactly how to build a business through AI instead of doing it manually. And because I know so many people sit at home thinking they don't have time to start an actual business, I'm going to do this as fast as humanly possible. So in this video, we are going to build a functioning business foundation, and we're going to do so incredibly fast. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of this video, I just want to show you why 99% of people that start a business, and especially now with AI, fail miserably. Okay, and what we're going to be talking about in this video specifically is ebooks, because ebooks is something that a lot of people think is outdated, it's too saturated, it has gotten replaced by AI, and to an extent, I would agree. But if you know how to structure it correctly, well, then this can become a very profitable business, and by the end of this video, you will understand why. So here is why 99% of ebook businesses, or businesses in general, fail, and the funnel that actually prints money. So the number one mistake people make starts before they even start selling anything, and that's because they built the wrong product entirely. You see, most people, they pick a too generic niche, and there's essentially no buyer. So an example of this would again be things like productivity tips or fitness tips or side hustles, right? These are things we've all heard 1 million times. There are so many people that are already doing it. And this has essentially, as I stated in the beginning of this video, been replaced by AI, because everyone can, go on YouTube and find productivity tips, or they can ask ChatGPT and figure it all out on their own. Now, take something like productivity tips versus something like social security mistakes that cost retirees $40,000, right? This is very niche, right? One of these sells and one doesn't, right? Also, one of them has a specific buyer who has real money, and that also equals real money, right? So this one up here, productivity tips, targets pretty much everyone in the entire world, right? Everyone is looking for productivity tips, whereas this one targets people that are retiring or, are already retired to begin with. And so we've now found an actual audience that we can sell to, right? The second mistake people make is that they think, oh, I'm going to be so smart. I'm just going to, ask ChatGPT to write me an entire ebook, and then I'm going to paste that into a Google Doc with no design, no formatting, no proof or cover, right? So it ends up looking exactly like a school essay that your teacher would review when you were in school, right? It feels worthless, even if the information itself is actually fine, right? Nobody's just willing to read it. And that's what you call refund city. And you might say, oh, I'm just going to run a no refund business, and good luck with that to begin with, right? Now, secondly, they have no distribution, okay? So they have a link in bio, which is their, marketing, and that's essentially the entire plan. They don't run any ads, they have no email list, they have no content engine. They have essentially built an entire store in the middle of a desert. So imagine building a store in the middle of the Sahara Desert. You're probably not going to get a lot of customers, right? No funnel, no pixel, no tracking, right? Every visitor who goes onto your website and does not buy anything in 30 seconds is essentially a customer who is gone forever. And they have no retargeting, they have no email capture, they have no idea what's actually working and what's not working, right? And so the people that go into your website and then immediately leave, you have no idea, you have no sort of method to pull these people back into your store and buy your actual product. They have no reason to, right? So you're essentially flying blind, okay? And lastly, right, they quit after 2 weeks of trying. I wouldn't even call it trying, to be honest, right? They treated it as a launch and not as an actual system. And any business on earth, should be treated as a system, okay? There's no iteration, there's no new hooks, there's no, second ad angle. They essentially just go with the flow and see what happens. And that's just not how you build a business in anything or in any industry. It is a system. It is not a moment. And if you treat it like a moment, well, then again, you're just not going to make any money. Now, here is the fatal business model mistake. Okay, the problem with ebooks nowadays is that that's their entire product. So they might sell an ebook once, right? The customer pays $27, and that is a customer gone. And now let's have a look at the actual math, right? Because you're going to have to run ads. And so you end up with an $8 margin, and you just cannot build a profitable business, in my opinion, on $8 margins. You at least need a lot of traffic, right? And so the ads that you're going to spend trying to generate that traffic is just not going to be worth it with $8 margins. And that's the reality for 99% of people who sell an ebook, right? And you have nothing to sell after. So the buyer who actually paid your book, right? Let's say you ran a business that sold media care ebooks, right? Somebody bought that book for $27 and that's it. They now leave, they're out the door and they're never coming back. But that same person, right? They would pay $497 for a media care consult instead of an ebook, right? And so you have no back end, which means leaving 90% of the money on the actual table, because the ebook in 99% of cases should not be the actual product. It should be the funnel. So the fix, use ebook, right? Use an ebook as the door and not as the room. And here's what the actual money machine looks like, okay? So you run a paid ad, which is your lead magnet towards your PDF, which in this case, let's just say that it's $27. In fact, you don't even need, to charge anything. But let's say your ebook is $27. That ebook is a call to action to your actual course, right? Which is $297. And that course is a call to action or a funnel to your coaching program, which is, $1,000 a month or $1,000 per quarter or year, right? So the job of the PDF or the ebook is not to make money. Its job is to do something that is just way better. Okay, the real job of the ebook is to qualify buyers, right? They paid $27 for your ebook, and that means they're real, right? And they're willing to pay, right? They recoup ad spend, which means you're break even up front essentially, right? They build a list of customers, which is 10 times more valuable than free subs in many cases, and they open the door, right? The back end is essentially where the real money lives. And again, the back end in this case is the course that you're trying to sell and the coaching, right? That's the back end, and that's where the actual money is made. So in other words, stop selling ebooks and start building funnels, because that is exactly how you make money. Now, here is the ebook Trojan horse, how to sell dropshipping products without the actual competition, because that is the problem for most people. You see, the wrong way, and what 99% of people do, is that they run a paid ad on, let's say, a yoga mat, right? That yoga mat is $30 a month, and they get no sales. And they wonder, why am I getting no sales, right? I'm running ads here, I'm selling a product, and I'm just not making any money. And that's because you are competing with 10,000 other stores selling that exact same mat, right? So chances are, if you have a customer that sees your ad of the yoga mat, well, then they've already seen 10 of those on the exact same mat. And so why would they buy yours and not the first one they came across if they really needed that yoga mat, right? But there is an actual solution. You see, the smart way to do it is to hide the product behind an ebook, okay? So instead of running a paid ad on the actual yoga mat, you now run a paid ad on the ebook. And the content within that ebook is essentially what makes these people buy, right? Because in the ebook, they're going to figure out the importance of yoga, and you're going to use psychological triggers such as longevity, calmness, and control, right? And then at the end, you're going to give a subtle CTA or a call to action to your product page, right? And so now all of a sudden you haven't pitched them anything, because the idea here is that the subtle CTA doesn't feel like a CTA. It feels more like a recommendation, right? And now they don't just see it as a yoga mat, right? They need it, and there's no competition because you're not directly promoting your yoga mat. You are promoting an ebook on yoga, right? Which is essentially just a way for those people to buy your yoga mat regardless, right? So in other words, the ebook is what sets the stage, right? They're already invested before they even see the product, and you make sure that you feed them with all these psychological triggers that makes them want that yoga mat, right? After they've read your ebook, they should feel as if, they need it because it could contribute to things like longevity, which is really important for a certain age group, right? Emotion is what does the selling. The CTA does not feel like an actual pitch. Whereas if there's an ad, right, that is a direct pitch. You want people to buy your product, and human psychology, they just don't want to buy your product. So you're the only one running this funnel. There's essentially zero competition. So you have gone from, over 10,000 people who are probably selling that exact same product to close to zero competition by simply promoting an ebook instead of, that yoga mat, which everybody else is also promoting. So Do not sell the product. You sell the story that makes them wanted. So how about we try and do this ourselves? Because regardless of how saturated you think this industry is, the business model is not the problem. The way that you're promoting the actual product is the problem. Your funnel is the problem. You probably don't even have a funnel. So we're going to create that funnel. We are going to set up the website. We are going to create the ebook, and we're essentially going to set the stage for a very, very profitable business together. So the first thing you are going to do is search up Claude, all right? And we do not want to use Gemini. We don't want to use Grok, ChatGPT. Well, I mean, you could potentially use GPT 5.5, but again, if you want to follow along, well, then use Claude, and more specifically, Claude Code. So what you're going to do is download Claude down to your desktop. We do not want to be working from the actual browser. Okay, so once you've downloaded Claude, the next thing you're going to do is head on over to PP Spy. You can also use meta ads. You just want to find an actual product, right? Because before we start building the funnel and the website, we need a product, because that's what kind of determines what our store or our website is going to look like, right? So because we're working with ebooks here, we want to target the elderly audience, right? That could be, you know, between 60 and 80 years old, because those are the people that are still very interested in ebooks. They don't know how to use ChatGPT. They don't know how to use artificial intelligence to generate them ebooks, you know, for themselves for free, right? So what we want to target is, again, the elderly audience, preferably 60 to 80 years old. And what are these people interested in? Well, again, that's things like home improvement. Let's see here. Pet products is always a good one. Beauty and health. We want to, you know, find a product where we can easily hit psychological triggers. For example, longevity, which is very important for these people or for this age group. So let's try and search this up and just have a look here. Again, what we're choosing here is not super important, because this is not going to be an actual store. If you are going to build your own store, well, then again, you are going to have to do a lot more digging and try and find a profitable product. So preferably, we want to keep the cost low. We don't want it to be like this one, for example, $99 US. That's a little bit too high. And we preferably want to find one that had a sale in 2026. So for example, there are these gummies, right? Let's have a look at these gummies. So these reduce hair loss, which again is also something that the elderly audience is interested in. They improve hair, skin, and nail health by 34.26%. They increase softness by 54%, whatever. So let's just go with this product. Okay, so what we're gonna do is create an entire store and an ebook around how important these gummies actually are and how they can help increase something that they are interested in. So in this case, that's gonna be hair, that's gonna be nails, that's gonna be their skin. So for example, we could touch on wrinkles. We could do all these different things to hit these psychological triggers, and that's why we're just going to choose this product. So now that we found our product, we're going to come out to our desktop and we're going to create a folder. This could be called vitamin store #1. It doesn't really matter what you call it. And the reason we're doing that is because when we're in Claude, and by the way, you have three options. You have chat, cowork, and code. We want to use code. And so when you're in Claude Code, it needs somewhere to store all of that code. And that's going to be the folder we've just created. So we're going to open that exact folder. For me, that is vitamin store #1. I'm going to open that. And now every single line of code is going to be stored within that very folder. And next, we need an actual prompt so that Claude can create this store or website for us. Now I have my own prompt right here, and you can find a link for this in the description down below entirely for free. So what I'm going to do now is actually send this message, and I'm going to trust the workspace, and then I'm essentially going to allow Claude to build this website for me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so after about 13 minutes of thinking, Claude has now finished the actual store, at least V1 of it. So within this prompt that I've given it, right, I told it to essentially choose a name for itself, and this is what it came up with. So we have Lumea, right, Glow Elixir. We have, it is interactive here. So that's super cool. It essentially gives all the details right here. So we have hair growth, nails like crystal, skin is softer than silk, inner lid radiance, confidence daily, clinically defended, all of these different things, right? So already the store is looking great. Now, in my opinion, right, for example, there's too much text for someone like me, and because we're targeting, an elderly audience, we don't want too many things here, right? We don't want to make it confusing. We don't want to make it anything. And probably nothing will happen if I click this. Okay, so we have subscribe and save. We have a one-time payment of $68. You can subscribe, which is probably by email, and save $10. So that's great, and also a way to get their email, but we're going to get that through the actual ebook. Now, because I'm just showing you how to build a foundation here, I'm not going to do anything to this website except change what we're looking at right here. So this is obviously not what our vitamins look like. So what we're going to do is incredibly smart and simple. So what we're going to do is go right into ChatGPT, and we're essentially just going to tell it, hey, Chat, I have a vitamin company called, I don't know the actual name, so we're going to have to jump into the website. We're going to copy the name. We can clearly see that this here is generated by AI. We don't want that. So I'm going to paste that right here. You need to give me the best possible prompt so that ChatGPT can create me an image, a PNG image of a vitamin flask, more specifically containing gummy vitamins for the brand called Lumea. So here we go. Please create the ultimate prompt, all right? Because again, I'm not an expert when it comes to creating prompts, okay? I have people on my team doing that for me, but what we're gonna do is just use AI to generate the prompt, because again, this is just way more detailed than I would ever be. So what we're gonna do is copy all of this right here. Then we're going to start a new chat, and we are essentially just going to paste this prompt right into ChatGPT. And here we go. Now it is already, creating an image. And yeah, sure, we could use something that, is probably better at image generation compared to chat, like Nano Banana, for example. But I am going to use ChatGPT because I assume that most of you watching this video already have access to ChatGPT. So let's see what this actually comes up with. We might need to give it a little bit more prompts. I don't know. This is, again, just the first draft. All right, so this is what it came up with. Now, this is already much better than what we had to begin with, so we are just going to run with it. Now, if you want a lot more realistic results, what you can do is search up gummy vitamins, let's say container PNG, right? Then we can go into images, and we can use an existing one. We can sort by transparency, and we could, for example, take this one and simply ask Chat to redo the actual label. So for example, right, I could come back into Chat and I could tell it, hey, the image you created looks a little bit unrealistic. Could you perhaps take the image which I have here and simply change the label so that it fits within my company? So we could do something like this to try and make it even more realistic than what we're looking at here, because again, this just looks like something that was created by AI. All right, and this is what it came up with. So just so much better, right? So much more realistic. We have our brand name here. It looks super, super good, at least compared to what we saw right here. So this is the better option for you to choose. Now, Chat, is this actually a transparent photo? I need you to make sure that the background is in fact transparent so that I can apply it within my website. Let's ensure that it is PNG because I don't think it is at this time. All right, and here's the final product, okay? So what we're gonna do now is save this image down to our desktop. It doesn't really matter what you name it. Once you've done that, you're gonna take that image and you're gonna put it inside of the folder which we created in the beginning of this video so that Claude can actually work with this image. What we're gonna do now is basically tell Claude, hey Claude, I am not satisfied with the image that we're currently using for the website. Therefore, I have uploaded an actual image of our product within the folder that you've been working within. So what I want you to do is replace every image of the actual vitamin flask or container with the image that I have now put inside of the folder. And it's important that we quickly tell it the image name is, for me, that is Lumea product image, like this. So I'm going to tell it Lumea product image. And there we go. So we're going to send that into Claude, and hopefully it is now going to look a lot better once it actually uses our image instead of that fake AI generated image. Okay, Claude is done, and this is what we have now. So the actual image has been replaced also down here, so that's great. Now, in my opinion, we have way too much going on here, at this website, given the fact that we're only selling one product. So what I want to get rid of is all these floating things that we're looking at right here. That's simply too annoying to look at. So I'm going to take a screenshot of these three, and then I'm going to throw them right into Claude. Hey, Claude, I do not like these floating things. Can you please get rid of them? So the floating highlights of the actual benefits within this product, just get rid of them entirely. And again, you can just continue to optimize however much you want. And in the end, you can legitimately have a crazy looking website. Now, we're not going to sit here and optimize because that's just going to take way too long. The video is going to be so long that nobody wants to watch it. But again, you literally just do what I did here. And a little tip for you guys is references. Okay, so Claude works a lot better when you send it an actual reference. So if you have a website you already think look, amazing, well, then you can take a screenshot of that website, upload it to Claude, and you can say something like, use this image as your primary visual reference, right? And you're just going to get so much better results. And obviously, you want to be very careful with something like this. Here we have a quote from Vogue, right? The closest thing we've found to swallowing light from Vogue. Well, that's obviously not true, and I'm pretty sure that's illegal, so don't do that. Also, here it says third-party tested. You want to make sure all of these things are actually legit, right? You don't want to promote something that it's not. And so maybe choosing vitamins here wasn't actually the best choice. But again, this is just to show you how easy it is to actually start a business nowadays. Okay, it should be done. Let's reload it and see. Yeah, there we go. So this is already much, much better. And what I would like, if it was my website, it's probably going to take a while, is when I hover over this thing, I would like it to sort of move and have, maybe spin around so we could see the whole thing. That would be awesome. But again, that's going to take way too long. So now we have the actual website. The only problem is this is a local host, right? It's not actually deployed anywhere. Nobody can open this as it's, just local on my computer. So I already have a domain. If you don't have a domain, you can go to GoDaddy and just buy a domain. It can be incredibly cheap, like $5 a year. So because I have a domain, I'm going to tell Claude I have an existing domain called coinvo.info. I need you to launch this website on Vercel through that same domain, but under a different URL. So now I've essentially just told Claude to go on Vercel and deploy this website for me. That way I don't have to do all of that myself. And that's something that's super cool with Claude, right? Normally I would have to go on Vercel, GitHub, and all these things to actually launch my website. But because I've given, Claude access to this, look at this. Here we have a pop-up, right? We just allow it. Because I've given Claude access to this, well, then it can essentially just do that for me, and I don't have to do anything. Okay, and we're live. Claude is done thinking, and it has shipped the website for public use. So now we are under the domain lumea.coinvo.info, okay? And this is essentially available to the public, which means we've already found a product and we've created a web page around that very product. Next in line, we're going to come into Stripe, right? And again, I've just created a new account here. You can do the same. You're going to create a new payment link and you're going to title it, let's see, Lumea Vitamins. Let's do that. We're going to add that as a new product. You can, of course, add a description. That could be whatever you want. You can upload an image of the actual product. And this is a one-off thing. It's not a recurring fee. And we're going to match it with the actual website. So we're going to choose US dollars. And just to be safe, it costs $58 on the actual website. So we'll do 58 exactly. And then we'll add the product. Once you've actually created it, you are going to click this button right here, create a link. And here we go. We have an actual link. We can copy that and go right back into Claude. And we can then tell Claude, hey, Claude, I have created a payment link for my Stripe account. Please use that so that when customers click the actual price, they're taking to the Stripe checkout. All right, so there we go. We're going to put the link in. And in just a few minutes here, the website will actually work and people can actually buy our product. All right, and it should pretty much be done. So let's go ahead and check our website. We're gonna refresh it, and hopefully this link will now take us directly to our Stripe. So now people can actually pay for our product, right? That's amazing, but we still don't have our actual funnel. But that is exactly what we're going to create now. And we're going to do that with Claude once again, but we're not going to use Claude Code for this. We're going to come up here and we're going to click on chat, and then we're going to use something called artifacts. Okay, so we're going to create a new artifact, and we can essentially just take anything here. It doesn't really matter. Start from scratch. And now is where you ignore all these questions, and then you put in a prompt that will essentially generate an ebook for you. But it's important that you tell Claude what the purpose behind this ebook actually is, so it can put emphasis on the actual solution, which is what we're trying to sell. So we're just going to let Claude come up with it, and I'm just going to tell it something like this. So I just grabbed a screenshot of the actual things that are found within this product. So we have vitamin A, right? Vitamin C, zinc, vitamin B5, vitamin B6. And Claude needs all of this so that it can structure it accordingly. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is grab a screenshot of our actual website here. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. We're going to go back into Claude and we're going to put that in there. And hopefully we're now going to get an ebook that is worth something. Now, again, if you are creating this with the intentions of making a lot of money, well, then again, you need to spend time on the actual content within the ebook. We're not going to do that now because, again, that would take a little bit longer. And again, with our actual website, this is obviously more towards women rather than men, but you could do like a retirement biohacking ebook where you, for example, sell red light therapy, right? And then you can pitch the idea via an ebook to the elderly audience who want to, reduce their inflammation or certain pain in certain areas and longevity as a whole, and then create a biohacking ebook for those people. And that's more niche, if you will. All right, so it is done. Okay, we have it right here. The Quiet Science of Aging Well, a considered guide to hair, nails, and the nutrients of vitality beyond 60. All right, let's have a look. Dear reader, this is a particular kind of confidence that arrives somewhere after 60. We have content right here that is absolutely beautiful. Again, we're not going to sit here and read through the entire thing. I'm more interested in the actual CTA here, so let's see if we can find that somewhere. The 12 essentials, and of course, we have all the vitamins which can be found within our product. Okay, let's see. Begin the ritual. We click it. Boom. We open the actual link. It opened on my other screen, but it sends us directly to our website. Now, what I would like to do here is actually not, I wouldn't want us to present as if we are the actual company, because then obviously we're going to promote ourselves. So I'm going to tell Claude, hey, Claude, please do not include the headline Lumea. I don't want it to seem as if I'm promoting my own product. Okay, so let's send this in here. Okay, so it failed the first time, but then I sent a screenshot and now it is done. And the cool thing is we have two options here. So we can save this as an actual PDF, right, which is the normal route to go when you create an ebook. But the only problem with that is it's not interactive, right, which means people cannot click on our link, which is, let's see, right here, right? So if you download this as a PDF, nothing's going to happen when they click this, right? Obviously, we have the actual link here, but the easier, the better, okay? So we are going to, go the modern route here, and we're going to publish this. So we're going to click publish. We're going to publish and copy the actual link here. Make sure you copy this link. All right. And if we now go to our browser and we come out here and we put it in, well, then right here, we have the actual ebook. And there it is, right? So that is sort of the modern route to go and do it. And this can be shared with pretty much anyone. So that's absolutely beautiful. Now we have the link. All we are missing is the website for our ebook. So we need a website that collects the email of our audience and then sends the ebook to their email whenever they've submitted that email. And what we want to do here is pretty simple. Okay, so we want to search up Meta Ads library. We then want to go into the actual library. Then we want to filter by all, and then we can choose, for example, to write ebook, right? And then we can see ads that are performing well that has to do with ebooks. And the reason we do this is because we do not want to be original. We want to copy something that already works, okay? So what we have to do now is find an actual ebook. So here we have an ebook, and this is about Forex trading, and it has been running since July 24th, 2025. So we could, for example, take this as our inspiration. So let's see what happens when I click this. Okay, so we can get a free ebook from this site. I like the site already. It's very straightforward, and that's exactly what we want. So let's see what happens when we click the button here. We're probably going to have to submit our email, right? So we're going to select our region. We're just going to select whatever, it doesn't really matter. And of course, here we go, right? Choose a sign up method. So we have to sign up with our email, and that's why the ebook is free, because they're using the exact same funnel as we are. So if I had to guess, right, these people are selling an ebook on Forex trading, and so they probably have some sort of Forex coaching program that they're going to upsell within their ebook, and that's why they're giving it away for free, right? And again, the reason why we know this is successful is because it was launched in July 24th of 2025. So it's been here for almost a year, which means it's probably profitable, because nobody's going to keep an unprofitable ad running for over a year. That just doesn't happen. So we're going to go into Claude, and we're going to go back into Claude Code here. We are going to create a new session. Then we're going to come back out on our desktop and create a new folder. That could be ebook, right? Then we're going to go back into Claude. We're going to select that exact same folder, ebook, which is right here. We're going to open, and now again, Claude works within that very folder. So I'm going to grab a screenshot of this website. I'm going to exclude my face so Claude doesn't get confused. I'm going to upload that, and then I'm essentially just going to give it a description of exactly what I want. Again, I want something that's nearly identical to what we're seeing here, but of course it has to be tailored around our own product. So let's go. Okay, so here we go, right? Create a website that's almost identical structure-wise to the reference I sent you. Again, when you create websites, you ideally want references, because Claude knows how to follow references quite well. So let's try and send this in. We're going to trust the actual workspace, and within a few minutes, we're going to have our second and last website. Okay, so Claude is done, and this is what it came up with just from that small prompt alone. Okay, sometimes less is really more. I think this is absolutely beautiful. Again, even better than the reference I sent it to begin with. So the idea here is that a user comes in here, they submit their email, they click get free ebook, and then automatically we are going to send that ebook to their email. So now not only have we given them the ebook, which is a funnel towards our actual product, but we also have their email. So we have we can build out an entire email list and potentially promote the product that way later on. Now let's set up the actual automation. Again, we're going to be using something called Kit. It has been extremely long since I've used that myself, so we're going to go through this together. Okay, I will now tell Claude, can you please tell me exactly what to do on Kit? It has been extremely long since I've been on that actual site, so let's get it done. Okay, so we have an entire guide here. All right, so we navigate to Grow, which is here. Then we click Landing Pages and Forums. I imagine we create a new one. We select a form. Okay, so not a landing page. And then we choose Inline, which is this one right here. Pick any template. We won't use the ones that Kit offer. We'll use our own. So we're just going to choose this one here. It does not matter. So we'll name it Quiet Science Ebook, because that's the name of our actual book here. So we're just going to do it like that. Inside the form editor, click Settings. So we're going to click Settings up here. Then we have to go to the Incentive Email tab, which is right here. And we have to toggle this on, which is already on. And then we have to fill in the subject line. There we go. We're just gonna take the exact thing that Claude is suggesting here. So as long as you have this on here, you can also write the message here. This is what it is going to tell them once we actually automate the process. So this is the message that they will receive within the email. We're going to come down to incentive, okay? And within the URL, right, we are going to use the exact same URL as we created. So that is this URL from Claude right there, okay? Then we are essentially just going to paste that right into the incentive right there. We are going to save. Let's save Gravity Forms endpoint. So let's just save and publish this as is right now. And model opens with embedded options. No, well, let's see here. Okay, perfect. Then it's the HTML one. Let's just try and paste all of that right into Claude right there. It's this one here, the action. Okay, perfect. So now it has the actual link. Let's see if the automation already works. Again, we also need to attach some sort of email to this, which we can do through our actual domain. Okay, so we can test it right here. Let's try and get the free ebook. Thank you. Check your inbox. So we'll head right into our Gmail and check exactly that. So here we go. This is the email itself. It is built with Kit. I'm sure you can remove that if you pay for it. But again, thanks for signing up. Click the link below to confirm your subscription, and you'll be on your way. Again, you can configure this. This is terrible. You want it to look differently. We also don't want it to be this email. Confirm your subscription. We confirm it, and boom. Now they have access to the actual PDF. They read through all of this stuff, which they're seeing here. Finally, they think, wow, we need a product that does exactly this, and we offer the solution. They open the link, and boom, our website is here. They want to pay, and we go directly into Stripe, and they can buy our vitamins. So that is pretty much it. All right, so we've essentially created, this is crazy, mind-blowing. Do you have any idea how long this would take back in the day, a few years ago? This is crazy, revolutionary even, right? So we've essentially created the foundation for an entire business in about 2 hours, even less if you don't consider the wait time from Claude here. Again, we have a payment processor, which is Stripe, that is attached to our actual website, which is this one that you're looking at right here. Then we have, an ebook website, which is this one, right? And we have an email automation, which means when people submit their email, they get the ebook, which we have also created. And that is a funnel directly to our actual product, which again can be found within the website that we have also created. And again, now you can run your own ads. Make sure that you filter by age, okay? Gentlemen, if you are using an ebook as a funnel, chances are you are gonna have way more success once you move up in the age range. So you wanna target people that are 50, 60, 70, or even 80 years old. You can also choose a product. This one is a little bit tough, but you can choose a product where organic marketing is, considerably easier compared to something like vitamins. For example, red light therapy, right? It's incredibly easy to do organic marketing through things like TikTok with red light. You can create all of these organic videos using your own red light and then indirectly promote your own product. So there are just millions of ways that we can go about this, but most importantly, we have essentially built the foundation for a profitable e-commerce business. Now, whether it's profitable or not is entirely up to you and the product that you choose. Remember, everything in here was a template. I would never sell vitamins myself. Never. I don't want to deal with the potential of something happening, right? Side effects. Oh, this guy got, stomach ache after eating my stuff and suddenly I have a lawsuit. So I am personally not interested in selling anything that, is going to be consumed by anyone. But you do you. You figure out exactly what you want. Find a product that is in alignment with a passion of yours. That is my number one tip for e-commerce guys out there. Stop just selling these Chinese products that means absolutely nothing for you. What is your passion? Right? Let's say it's soccer. Well, then find something soccer related that you can promote, because marketing and business in general becomes so much easier if you actually enjoy what you're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, you essentially have the entire blueprint within your hands right now. You can follow this blueprint every single time that you're going to create a business, and you can just swap out the product. The funnel is the same, right? It's just the content within the ebook and maybe how the website is structured that is going to be different. So again, I appreciate every single one of you, and I sincerely hope to see you in our next video.